Hey everyone, we are Isis and Susie, and today we are talking about a pretty important question. The question that we want to talk about today is what is the difference between a thriving startup and one that has failed? Now, it's not going to be our opinions. We've actually interviewed a whole lot of really amazing investors, and we'll absolutely be sending those videos out to the internet soon. But today we wanted to chat about what are the things we learned from the conversations with these amazing investors. So, Susie, do you want to kick off with one of the first things that you heard from our investors, from all of them?
One of the first things I heard was from Glenn, and the thing that stuck with me is he said that startups are a bit like family. So a good family, like there are only a few things that really make a good family a great family, but there are many things that make a family a bad family. He used Homer Simpson also saying that we could disguise, you've got visitors coming around and you're like, oh, quick, clean up, we've got visitors, put all the rubbish in the cupboards and let's put on our best faces, showing that actually, even in good startups, we can slightly fake the atmosphere for a short period of time as well. So using that as a great analogy, but really pulling on the fact that success is seen in only a few things, whereas failure and non-success is seen in many different facets. So that was something that hit me. What about you?
I think one of the first things I heard from all of them was the word resilience. And it seems to come up a lot. And we asked the investors what they really meant by when they said resilience. And again, one of the common themes is this ability to be able to get up and go on again. And this seems to also be connected to the word self-awareness. So when we started poking into that a little bit more, the things that came up were stories. Investors want to hear the stories from startups about how they actually failed before and how they've managed to stand up again. And this is not necessarily failures from previous startups, but it certainly sounded like that was very desirable. However, just startups failures from your life, like things that have been really hard for you, but you've managed to be able to get up and keep moving. So to me, resilience seemed to be number one. And then the self-awareness leads you to the resilience. And then probably the other thing that I heard related to that was having the confidence. So the confidence inside yourself to say, no matter what happens, I'm going to keep going with this because I really believe in what I'm doing. So that's definitely one that kept coming up. Do you hear anything else?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think there is too, like the team is core to success. So answering the why them or why us is a really important question. And I think there were so many characteristics that are important to come out in a team. And what Matt was saying is that the ideal size team is kind of two, because try and have all the characteristics of what might make a successful founder is almost impossible for one person, right? Because there is so many. So actually to split it into two and know that you can split those characteristics between the two, but have them prevalent in the team is really important. And I found it quite interesting because both Matt and Glenn were talking about the odd number. So one on their own becomes kind of where's your support if you do fall down. That piece about resilience, you haven't got your committee of people around to pick you up or go, yeah, I know it's rough down here, right? Whereas if you have two, that's great. But then if you have three, you've got that odd weighting as well, where you may have two people doing the work and one is being left out, just that odd number. So really the sweet spot I'm hearing is two. And I'm curious, what were you hearing about additional characteristics of what make a good team?
Yeah, so there was a lot on team to begin with. I definitely heard about the team slide being very important. We'll talk about pitch later. I think that two number is also what I heard from the other investors as well. And I love I think it was Bonnie that said, let's talk about, we look for a deal maker, connector, and a builder, which I thought was really interesting because that came up again in terms of skills. So if it's a software startup, then what they look for is that technical ability. Can they build this product? And then they also look for someone in that team who is the engaging, passionate, the person who's probably going to go out there and sell. So now it's just really hard to have all of these characteristics in one person. I think that's why a lot of the investors red flagged one founder, because it's just a really difficult skill set to have. Having said that, more than two or lots can create some chaos and it can lead to fallout. So that I thought was also very interesting, because we did hear a bit about what creates founder fallout, because this is something that contributes to a team that has failed. I'm just curious, what did you remember from the founder fallout? And
Yeah, so I'm going to build a little bit more on the other characteristics that I heard, because there was a lot of chat that I heard around in terms of the team being incredibly passionate and having a mission, and passionate about, I heard the sentence, really falling in love with your customer problem, like really being passionate and being able to articulate that, and the reason, the why behind that being incredibly important.
Yep.
And then this incredible hyper focus of the team, not being, and I was loving the analogy of not being distracted by the butterflies.
Butterflies.
A butterfly kind of comes in and you go, oh yeah, that's a beautiful butterfly. So you take your eye off the prize and off you go to the butterfly. But actually, and quite a few investors were saying, if they suddenly hear, you know, oh, they've got 6 different priorities, well, then that might be a red flag, because unless all the priorities lead in one direction, where's that focus? And you need that focus. There was another few things that they talked about, is this charismatic personality.
Yes.
So not distinguishing the difference between the introvert and extrovert, because you can naturally think, oh, if they're charismatic, they must be extrovert. But that's actually not the case, because an introvert can be charming and engaging, but actually saying that this charisma is what can make you this inspiring leader. It can make you seduce people, like in the most positive way, into wanting to be as passionate as you are in what you're doing, for people to want to follow you, your likability, your ability to listen to customers. Then the key thing, feedback. And I'm sure, like, I'll come back to it, but did you hear anything about this word coachability and feedback?
Oh my God, yes. So I just want to unpack like a few things you said there. So going back to that why and the mission.
Yeah.
Boy, that was so important. I think I heard why you and why now. I think really speaks to something else. We're jumping around here a bit, but it's all really interesting stuff. The why now is about the market timing, but the mission and the focus. So what I heard was that founders and teams who are very clear on what their mission is, and especially their purpose, like why are they doing this? Those are the teams that are going to make it through. And then what I heard also is that the founders who have picked, this is a quote, ideas of a whiteboard that seemed cool and decided to get rich quick, they're the ones that basically, as soon as they hit the first obstacle, they're probably going to fall or fail, because it's just, they don't have a purpose or a mission driving them to get past those obstacles. So that was really interesting to hear, that investors get very faded by all of these pitches and all of these people looking for money who are just doing it because they want to become the next billionaire. There's a sexiness associated with becoming the next Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and everybody wants to be them. But actually what I heard is that the journey is tough, and that if you're not in it for a specific reason, then it's very likely that you're not going to get there.
And what about the coachability? What did you hear about?
Oh my God. So when we talk about characteristics of founders, along with resilience, one of the words that frankly kept coming up as a word was coachability. And it seemed to me that coachability was really about the ability to listen, take advice, and more importantly, come back to that person to let them know what they've done with the advice. It wasn't that they were looking for founders who just listened to everyone and just did everything that, I tell you to do. No, it was actually your ability to synthesize, process it, and then be able to decide whether I'm going to take some or leave some, that level. And also it seemed that coachability also translates to their ability to listen to customers, which came up in every single conversation as a hallmark for success.
I had very similar things. And I just, so now going on to that customer questioning, I think what's really interesting is I feel like when I was listening to them, the absolute success one of the key characteristics of success is having that right team and that right combo. And one of the things that actually ensures failure is actually not listening to your customers deep enough, not knowing that they're going to pay for your product, being seduced by the fact that you love your product so much and you think your product is so cool. And you might even see somebody riding on the train with your product and you're going, whoa, that's so cool. And then the investor goes, so how much did they pay for that product? Oh no, I gave it to them for free. And you get deluded into the idea that actually, of course, they're going to want the product because they're playing with it on the train, but actually not actually seeing the money transfer.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think the product, we call it at the startup world product market fit, but really what it is actually solving a problem that people really have rather than a solution. There's a lot of solutions looking for problems. And that's when you hit failure because you're so in love with your own solution that you don't even know if anyone has a problem. And just going back to that team, one of the things was that they look for is, have you as a founder personally experienced that problem? Because that seemed to be something that was really important, because if you've experienced the problem, then you'll be so invested and passionate about solving it that, again, you're going to want to solve the problem, not just go, oh, I have this amazing idea. Surely everyone's going to pay for it and buy it because I have this amazing idea.
Oh, yeah, I heard that too. Knowing that you've had industry experience as well and you felt the pain. Yeah. Yes. So I also think for me, I was trying to work out how I can summarize in a few words what the investors were saying. And I'll be curious to hear what your insights is. But really for me, what I heard was it is about having the right team. So answering the question of why them, why you?
Yep.
And that kind of comes as first, right? And the second part is the right market or the right space that you're playing in now. Is there a growth market? And is the growth big enough? Is there space? Like, because they want the traction. And actually to hear quite substantially about that, in the pitch, which obviously we'll come to in a bit. And so answering the question, why now? Why now? And then the third thing was, and the product. We have this great product, which we have validated, and therefore we can answer why this product. Yep. So those were the key things that I heard the investors really looking for and assessing against when they would decide whether they would part with their money and want to really get in bed or marry this, your new customers. Ultimately, that's what it is. What did you hear, Isis?
Pretty much exactly what you said, but maybe paraphrasing that: problem, solution, fit. So do you have a problem that you are passionate about, that you ideally have some experience with, that customers want solved and will pay for? And you know this because you've talked to lots and lots of them. So that's number one. Number two is you and your team. What are the characteristics? Are you engaging, charming? Are you passionate about this? Do you have the resilience to be able to go on the startup journey? Also, something that we haven't talked about, I think is definitely worth another video, is the mental health issues of being a founder in a startup and burnout. How are you making sure that you're in this for the long term? Do you have mentors, coaches, peers who are supporting you in this process to help you when things get really tough. And then third, yes, the product now. And the product is really about, hey, have you got the skills to build that product? And again, is that product actually fit what the market needs? And to finish up, the market is actually one that is ready for your product right now, because sometimes it's not. You might be too early to market, if anyone remembers Google Glass. And you want to make sure this market has a growth potential as well, that there's room here for your solution to have lots of traction.
Yeah. The only thing I feel like I want to add to what you've said is I was also hearing that one of the key focuses to success was focus on the money, which doesn't sound that exciting or sexy, because it isn't about the product. And by money, it's not about the raising the capital or getting a grant or so forth, because that doesn't show that you have got a sustainable business. If you are not bringing in steady income, the business will fail without, and this is back to, I think, Toy Story, which was another analogy. If you haven't got the money, you can't build your house. You know, like, they say my problem is I haven't got a roof, but actually the real problem is I haven't got any money to build my roof. Right?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I remember Marcus saying, runway, focus on your runway, which is how much money do you have to do all the things that you want to do in your business. And something else related, he said, also focus on the runway of your goodwill. So this is the goodwill of the investors, the people in your team, your customers, because if you're not making progress in your product or your idea, then you're going to run out of goodwill and the patience of the people that are supporting you as well, and perhaps the team that, you know, who's not getting paid much to be on this journey with you. So really glad you brought that up, because that's probably something that was actually number one, really, because without it, you're gonna perish, you're gonna fail really quickly. So really, and it's not about raising money. That's what I heard, is that it's not about necessarily going out there and raising money, actually just being really careful about just how much you have left. All right, so any parting thoughts before we finish up?
I think there is so many things that they said, but I just love the clarity of why them, why you, why now, and why this product, and realizing that as a team, if you haven't got all the skills, looking to outsource for the skill set is also really key. That is, I think, my final takeaway.
And just to wrap up, I just want to say it's not for everyone. The startup journey is not for everyone. And it's okay. It's okay to go, this is not for me. I can get paid really well in a full-time job, and that's what my family needs. So I'm going to go do that. That's totally okay too. So I just want to wrap up by saying that. Thank you so much for the awesome conversation. And I can't wait for our next one, where we will talk more about what investors look for in a pitch, and particularly what they cringe. I love that question you asked. Cringe when they see in a pitch as well.
All right. Bye.